this. So it's Sanctity of Life Tuesday, as you can see on my sign here, and I come out to be a voice for the voiceless, the children that are being slaughtered every day at abortion clinics like Planned Murderhood in Georgia. And you know, they have the audacity at Planned Parenthood to put out a barricade sign that says Black Lives Matter. But here's an interesting statistic. Did you know that in the United States, an unborn black child is 5 times as likely as an unborn white child to be murdered in abortion? So obviously that puts the lie to so-called Black Lives Matter, right? Planned Parenthood makes it manifestly obvious that they do not care about black lives. They target unborn black children disproportionately for execution through abortion. And so the proposition that I bring before you today is simply that all lives matter, right? All unborn lives, all unborn black lives, right? And I would submit this to you, that all black lives don't matter until unborn black lives matter, right? Does that make sense? It's pretty simple logic, right? I think even the average freshman here at UGA probably could get his or her mind around that. It's pretty straightforward.
What about their minds?
Yeah, their minds. Yeah, so when unborn child is killed, right, their brain is destroyed. That's another one of the tragedies. They lose all of their rights. They lose all of their rights, right, when they're sucked out of the womb and discarded as waste. So you make a great point. We want their brains matter, their minds matter. Half of these unborn children that are being killed are women. So I want to stand up. I want to stand up to affirm the right of women to be born. I affirm the basic human right of women to be born. Pretty basic, again. If you want to not yell something, if you want to have a rational discussion, come back over. I'll turn the amp off. Right, I'll turn the amp off. But I figured you really didn't have that good of material, right? That's why you stick the middle finger up, use your fingers, study your brain. I get it. Thought is hard. Rational thought is difficult. It's challenging. It's a lot easier to stick up your middle finger. I get it. Sticking up your middle finger is way easier than thinking hard and critically. But I do invite critical thought. I do invite you to use your brain, use your reason, use logic and evidence and science, right? The science of embryology, and formulate your point, your position in a rational way, and then we can have a discussion. As I was saying earlier, you can train a chimpanzee to stick up its middle finger. That's not hard, right? Any 3-year-old can stick up his or her middle finger, but the difference is, can you formulate a coherent, logical, rational, reason-based case for your position, for your perspective on something? And so I just want to go ahead and throw down the gauntlet, right? Throw down the gauntlet, and I'll issue that challenge to you bright and brilliant scholars here at the University of Georgia. Come by and make your case with logic, reason, and evidence. Yeah, that's the great thing about higher education, right? It should, now does it? I don't know. Not so much these days. But it should train your brain, your mind, harness the power of your mind, and enable it to structure an argument in a way that is not so much emotionally laden, right? Anybody can emote, but very few, decreasing numbers of people can reason and use logic and evidence to make their case. So, I'll go ahead and make my case then. Here's my case. Human beings, baby boys, baby girls, are the same entities from the moment of conception throughout their biological lives. Now, from the standpoint of DNA, this is obvious, right? It's obvious that the DNA that comes together when the sperm and the egg meet is the same identical genetic endowment that human individual will have throughout his or her lifespan. Okay, let's assume maximum lifespan. Sperm and egg meet. 40 weeks later, child is born, exits the vagina, enters the world, and let's assume that this human being lives for 120 years, right? Lives to a ripe, old age of 120 years. Well, guess what? The DNA is exactly the same. It's the same DNA. It's DNA that is unique to that human individual, right? If ever there was a proprietary right to information, it is the right of the individual to his or her unique genetic code. Okay, that's just one small line of reasoning. That's just one small line of reasoning, but, you know, again, if you're a pro-abort today, you know, if you celebrate abortion rather than mourn it, I would encourage you to use reason, use logic, use evidence, and explain to me how what I just said about DNA is irrational or does not argue against the acceptability, the moral permissibility of abortion. All right, UGA students are not going so hot today. I've got a lot of emotions. I've had no one willing to step up to the plate. A lot of smirks, a lot of eye rolls, a lot of middle fingers. There's nobody willing to step up to the plate and do their best to articulate a rational and reasonable argument why abortion should be considered to be morally permissible. Okay? Nobody's done that yet. But we'll stick with it here. Maybe somebody will defy that unfortunate trend. We shall see. Right? So far, not so good. But we'll see. So here's a challenge for you. How would you complete the sentence? How would you complete the sentence? It is morally permissible to kill an unborn child when... ... Right? It is morally acceptable, it is morally permissible to kill an unborn child when blank. How would you fill in the rest of that sentence? Any thoughts on that? Well, I'll go ahead and give you, since nobody really wants to step up to the plate, I'll give you some stuff that I have heard, right? You know, most courage in terms of these types of issues, discussing them, doesn't take place face-to-face these days. It's sort of a demarcation of Gen Z. They'll do little videos, TikTok videos, Instagram, comment on it in the echo chamber of social media, but they won't have an actual discussion with someone who disagrees with them publicly. And we need to get back to that, right, for the sake of classical democracy, classical liberalism, not illiberalism. But yeah, so how would you finish that sentence? How would you complete that sentence? It is okay, it is morally permissible to take the life of an unborn child when blank. When blank. How would you complete that sentence? And I will simply submit to you that it is never morally permissible to take the life of an unborn child. So I'm going to take the negative stance on the issue. Okay. Would anyone like to argue that at least sometimes, in some situations and circumstances, it should be regarded properly as morally permissible to take the life of an unborn child?
They literally have to work right there, man. That's just... They're working.
Yeah, I'm trying to work right here, and you're interrupting me. Yeah. Did you ask them? Maybe they disagree with abortion. Not everybody thinks like you, right? And you consider that. I know that that's rare for your generation, right? Since you all are so narcissistic. But do you ever consider the fact that maybe not everyone agrees with you? Maybe they're pro-life. You'd have to ask them, wouldn't you? Yeah. But all the outrage, the guy coming out to say, let's the babies. You know, what a bad guy he is, right? You know, how absurd, how crazy. He doesn't want unborn children to be killed. Wow, he must be a moral monster. You know, okay, explain to me how that logic holds up. I'm not here saying, please don't kill the unborn babies. Let's let them live. Love thy unborn neighbor. As Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. It's not very loving to kill your neighbor, is it? But I'm regarded as sort of the crazy man because I speak out. I have the intestinal fortitude to speak out against these 3,000 to 4,000 babies that are being murdered every day in the United States. All right. Okay, so far I've gotten zero logic, reason, or evidence. In fact, there was a woman that came by who agreed with me, and you know, I hate to say it, she's far more reasonable than any of you have demonstrated to be. But I would like to hear a rational case explained, expounded, articulated by someone who disagrees with me. How about that? Is anybody within earshot up to the challenge, right? And you will be able to explain to me rationally and reasonably why at least some unborn children should be considered killable, right? Why it should be considered morally permissible to kill at least some unborn human beings. Again, I'll turn the amp off. I'll listen first. I'll probably get out my notepad because I'll write down a few questions to ask you at the end. You know, but as the proverb goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can lead a college student to logic, reason, and evidence, but you can't make them think, can you? They have to engage in that endeavor of their own free volition. All right. So, I guess, well, there's another middle finger. Don't use your brain, you know, by all means, don't use your brain. Use your finger like a little child, right? Like a little 3-year-old, doesn't get his way. I didn't get my way, so I'll flip him off. No, I won't use my thoughts. No, I won't use reason. No, I won't use evidence. Oh, I know. I'll use my middle finger, right? Great job. I hope you're not a UGA student. If you're a UGA student, that is a sad commentary on the educational system of the University of Georgia. All right, let's let these babies live, right? Let these unborn children live. Let's stop killing them. In fact, let's outlaw abortion. Let's criminalize human abortion, right? Put these doctors behind bars. I think they deserve the death penalty, right? Premeditated murder. Change the laws. Make it homicide. Properly regarded. The premeditated taking of human life by another human. And so these abortion, quote-unquote, doctors, right? They're doctors in the same sense that the Nazi doctors were doctors, right? But these so-called abortion providers, well, they're serial killers, right? They kill people for money, right? They're serial hitmen and hitwomen. You know, now logically, that makes sense. But a lot of y'all get mad at me for saying that, but it's true, objectively, scientifically, philosophically.